Story 1. During one of my college programs at a very popular theme park in Florida, basically a magical rodent kingdom, I lived with roommates. The program provided housing, and at the time, there were 4 different apartment complexes. One was specifically for international college students, while the other 3 were for students from North America. Each apartment came with a different price tag, and the cost was automatically deducted from our already meager paychecks every week. The most expensive and luxurious apartment complex had 2 refrigerators and plenty of space, but it came at a steep price. The second most expensive one was quiet and conveniently located near the International Student Complex. Then, there was the oldest and cheapest one, often referred to as the party place. This complex was considered the roughest of them all, though that reputation was a bit exaggerated. It still had 2 swimming pools, one with a hot tub, a gym, and a tennis court. It was also where the main bus stop for the program was located, essential for those of us without cars. On top of that, it was within walking distance of multiple stores and restaurants. Regardless of where we lived, we were required to share a bedroom with one other person. To save money, I opted for the cheapest apartment. I had extended my program with a prior roommate and friend, so we decided to share a room again. I'll call her Kendra. Kendra and I met 3 other girls in the apartment, Jamie, Kelly, and Hal, all names changed. Our unit had 3 bedrooms, meaning we had room for one more person. After a month, we got our final roommate, Shonda. Shonda was older than us, but still in her 20s. She had 2 young children back in her home state, a son and a daughter. When we first met her, we asked if she was comfortable being away from her kids for an entire year. She explained that she had them young and never really had the chance to explore life or experience personal freedom. We all decided to mind our business since, at the end of the day, it wasn't our place to judge. And Shonda truly meant what she said about being free. A week never passed without her being out drinking, clubbing, partying, or staying at some random guy's place. Again, we minded our business. Shonda eventually became close friends with a coworker, whom I'll call Amanda. Amanda also had a reputation for partying hard. One night, the 2 of them got into a drunken brawl behind a club in some alleyway. Later, Shonda vented to us about how difficult Amanda's attitude was. We listened but didn't say much because, as always, we kept to ourselves. One important thing to know about our apartment was that Hal was Muslim. Because of this, we had a rule that guests needed to be announced before entering so she could dress appropriately if necessary. It didn't matter whether the guest was male or female, everyone had to follow the rule. And everyone did except for Shonda. One Friday night, Shonda randomly showed up with Amanda. Since Amanda was female, Hal wasn't caught off guard, but the rest of us were still irritated. They were getting ready to go out, but we were confused because, last we heard, Shonda and Amanda were no longer on good terms. But, as always, we just minded our business. Then Amanda started judging our apartment's layout. She asked why we had arranged our furniture a certain way. We explained that we liked to change things up since all the apartments had the same standard decor. While Shonda was in her room getting ready, Amanda continued making rude comments to us in the living room. At one point, Amanda asked how to get to the downtown-style area of the theme park. Jamie replied, "Take the F bus. It will take you right there." Amanda rolled her eyes. "Ugh, I know that already. I meant by car. I don't ride the bus." Jamie was the kind of person who had no patience for nonsense, and her expression made it clear that she was not amused. But instead of responding, she just went back to typing on her laptop. Hal then asked Amanda what their plans were for the night. Amanda, still with an attitude, said they were going downtown and then clubbing. Some other small talk followed, and at some point, something was said that made Hal burst out laughing. Now, here's the thing: Hal was loud. She was one of those people who talked and laughed at full volume. Some found her overwhelming. I occasionally hung out with her, but I mostly kept my distance because I have severe anxiety, and her energy was a bit too much for me at times. Well, Hal started cackling loudly. Amanda's face twisted in disgust before she suddenly snapped. "Oh my God, can you shut up?" The entire room went silent. Hal just stared, looking confused and a little hurt. My roommates and I exchanged glances, and at that moment, I had reached my limit. I calmly but firmly spoke up. "You need to leave." Amanda blinked. "What?" "I need you to leave our apartment, now." Amanda let out a small laugh. "Why?" "You've literally been rude to everyone since you walked in. You need to leave. Now." But she's loud and annoying. This is her home. She pays rent here. You don't. She has the right to be loud in her own home. Get out." I walked over and opened the front door. Amanda rolled her eyes but stepped outside. Shonda came running from the back, demanding to know what happened. We explained everything, and I told her that Amanda was no longer welcome in our apartment. My roommates agreed. Shonda was furious. The next day, Shonda called for a roommate meeting. She told us that how we treated her friend was wrong. I asked if she didn't, just a few weeks ago, have a full-on fight with Amanda because of her attitude. Shonda sighed. "Yeah, but we made up." "That's great for you," I replied. "But Amanda is still not allowed over here because she was disrespectful to us." About a week later, Amanda showed up again, but this time she stayed on the porch. She knocked, and when I answered the door, she apologized. I accepted her apology, but then she asked if she could come inside now. I turned and asked my roommates. They all still said no. Shonda was furious. A week later, she put in a request for an apartment transfer. She left, stating she couldn't live somewhere her friends weren't welcome. Yeah, we didn't care. Story 2. Female, 23 years old. It's my birthday today. From the Netherlands. Living while struggling with self-doubt. Looking back, I think what hurt the most wasn't just that my family wasn't proud of me, it was what that represented. It wasn't about a graduation ceremony or a diploma. It was about the realization that no matter what I did, no matter how much I pushed through, it would never be enough for them. When I was younger, I didn't question why I was so independent. My mom would always tell people how I was different from my siblings. While they were glued to their handheld gaming consoles, I was buried in books. She found it bizarre. "You know, normal kids play games, right?" she'd say. But I just loved reading. I loved learning. What shocked her the most was that I didn't need anyone to push me. I did it on my own. Looking back, it made sense. I never really expected guidance because I never had it. I never expected my mom to help me with homework. I never expected her to sit down with me and go through things like other parents did. I never expected anyone to stand up for me at school. That's just how it was. If I needed help, I had to figure it out myself. As a kid, you don't realize that this isn't normal, that other kids have parents who advocate for them, who help them through things. You just assume that's how the world works. You do everything alone, and if you struggle, you push harder, because that's what you're supposed to do. But now, I realize that it wasn't independence, it was survival. There's a difference between doing things on your own because you want to and doing them on your own because you have no other choice. I wasn't choosing to do everything alone. I was forced to. When I was 14 or 15, I had to make my own appointments with teachers. I had to explain my struggles on my own. And as a young girl of color, no matter how well I spoke or how serious I was, they didn't always take me seriously. Maybe some of them wanted to, but without a parent backing me up, there was only so much they could do. And because I had managed for so long without support, the moment I did struggle, the moment I did need help, it was seen as a failure. It wasn't just that I had to redo exams, it was that I had broken the illusion that I could do it all without ever slipping. And to them, that slip made me undeserving. There is something deeply unsettling about growing up in an environment where success isn't a cause for celebration, but failure, no matter how small, is a reason for punishment. Where struggling isn't met with support, but with ridicule. Where a mistake isn't a lesson, but a weapon to be used against you. Where getting an answer wrong isn't just wrong, it's considered foolish. It's proof that you're not enough. And once that idea is planted, it never really leaves. When I finally graduated, I was the first in my family to do so in a way that allowed me to go to university. You would think they'd be proud. But no. Instead of celebrating, they still thought I was useless and unintelligent. When I was close to graduating, I had to retake some exams to get my diploma. I was so close, but I needed to redo one test, then another. My mom, my aunt, my sister, and my brother were furious. They called me useless, told me I would never succeed. They asked why everyone else managed to pass, but not me. And when I finished my retakes and finally succeeded, I was so happy. Yes, I was unhealthily thin. Yes, I was battling severe depression. But I did it. I did what I had to do, and I made it. Still, that wasn't enough. Even when I succeeded, my mom wasn't happy. She told me she was mad, that she wasn't proud of me, especially not proud of me. When I asked her why, she said, "Well, you needed to retake exams, so get out of my face." She and the rest of my family refused to go to my graduation. Nobody went. I went alone, just like I had always gone through things on my own. This particular moment left an imprint on me. I think this was the moment I truly realized what had been happening all those years leading up to it. No matter what I achieve, no matter if I succeed or not, it will never be good enough. Even if you do things all by yourself because no one will help you, they will always have something to say, but still, no one will help you. Still to this day, acknowledgement from my family never comes. The recognition of the things that happened, the mistakes that were made, and the hurt that was caused, it never happens. There is no apology, no moment of reflection, no conversation that even hints at accountability. And maybe that's what makes it worse. Not just the past itself, but the silence that follows it. And while they remain silent, my depression only grows louder. But deep down, I know the truth. It was never about me not being good enough. It was about them never being able to see my worth in the first place. And if they never saw it then, they never will. The only person left to see my worth is me, and I'm still picking up the pieces. P.S. Trust me, I'm not some kind of child prodigy. I don't think I'm special or extraordinary. I just like school. I liked learning. I enjoyed developing myself in academic settings, while my siblings didn't. I never needed help with school, and that made it easy for my mom to focus her attention elsewhere, but it also made it easy to criticize me when things went wrong. I was raised by my mother. I had 2 siblings, 1 brother and 1 sister. My father was not really around. Well, he was, but in reality, I was the one raising him, rather than the other way around. He was in and out of the picture, mostly for 2 days at a time, and then, gone again. Even now, they still don't even know what field I study, what my favorite color is, or who I am as a person. They only know the version of me that exists for them, the people pleaser, the one who does everything they expect, who listens, who nods, who doesn't push back. It's strange how the things that matter to me are completely invisible to them, while I'm expected to listen to everything that happens in their lives and move along with them, and I struggle with that a lot. Story 3. I've always thought of myself as a pretty reasonable person. I work hard at my job as a customer service rep, try to be nice to people, and generally keep to myself. So what happened last weekend at Walmart still has me shaking my head in disbelief. It was one of those scorching summer days where the heat seems to melt the asphalt in the parking lot. My apartment doesn't have air conditioning, so I figured I'd grab some water balloons to cool off on my balcony. Simple enough plan, right? I headed to the toy aisle at Walmart, scanning the shelves for water balloons. The store was picked clean. Summer supplies were in high demand with the heat wave we'd been having. Finally, I spotted them 2 packs of water balloons hanging on a nearly empty rack. I reached out and grabbed both packs, relieved I'd found them. That's when I heard it. "Hey, I want some too." I turned around to see a woman glaring at me. She looked to be in her 50s or 60s, slightly chubby, with that haircut that's become synonymous with entitled behavior on the internet. Her face was already flushed with anger. I tried to be reasonable. "Oh, I'm sorry, can we split it, 1 each?" Her response was immediate and jarring. "No, I want both. I deserve both balloons." She wasn't exactly quiet about it either. People started gathering around us, watching the scene unfold. I noticed a few people pull out their phones, probably expecting things to escalate further. The woman seemed to notice our audience too, and her demeanor shifted. She put on this exaggerated victim expression and raised her voice even louder. "Why would you deny my right to cool off? After you ripped these balloons out of my hands, you can spray yourself with a water hose while I have the water balloons. Me, why can't we just split them? Plus, I didn't snatch them from you, you just started screaming." "No, my grandchildren need them more than your probably ugly kid." That was it for me. I don't even have children, but the way she was acting was so ridiculous that I decided it wasn't worth the confrontation. Life's too short to argue over water balloons in Walmart. Okay, I'm not even gonna bother myself. I tossed one pack of balloons back on the shelf and turned to walk away. "I'm just gonna go check out." As I walked away, I could hear her screaming something behind me, but I didn't turn around to see what it was about. I just wanted to pay for my single pack of water balloons and go home. The cashier gave me a sympathetic look as I checked out. I guess word travels fast in a Walmart. I walked out of the store, my purchase in a plastic bag, thinking the drama was over. That's when I noticed her. She was running to her car, a beige sedan with no shopping bags in her hands. I thought it was weird that she'd made such a fuss, but hadn't even bought anything. Then I saw her car engine start and the headlights flick on. Before I could fully process what was happening, the car was accelerating straight toward me. My body reacted before my mind could catch up. I jumped to the side, dropping my bag as the car sped past the spot where I'd been standing just seconds before. The car screeched as it made a sharp turn and sped out of the parking lot. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Had she really just tried to run me over? For water balloons? With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and called the police. I gave them a description of the woman and her car, but she was long gone by the time they arrived. They took my statement and said they'd keep an eye out for her vehicle. I ended up retrieving my water balloons from where I'd dropped them and driving home, checking my rearview mirror the entire way. What was supposed to be a simple trip to Walmart had turned into something out of a bad movie. The police called me a few days later saying they'd identified the woman from the store's security footage and that she had a history of similar incidents. They were pressing charges for reckless endangerment. As for me, I ended up filling those water balloons at home, but they didn't bring nearly as much relief from the heat as I'd hoped. It's hard to enjoy yourself when you're still processing almost being turned into a human speed bump over a $3 pack of water balloons. Story 4. So a few years ago, I was a student studying in childcare. Now, as a part of my course, I am meant to work one day a week in a private nursery. For people who don't know what a nursery is, it's basically preschool, I think, for experience. So whilst I was there for a year, I became very close with the staff members and the children that were there. During the summer, a new child was enrolled into the nursery. We will call the little girl Mary because her favorite song was "Mary Has a Little Lamb." Now Mary is an adorable little girl who likes to jump around and give everyone hugs and kisses. A ball of fluff is what she is. Mary is a bit slightly chubby for a 3-year-old, but that's okay. No problem with a little bit of chub. But her mom thought otherwise. Her mom, whom we'll name Karen, is this tall white lady who is American who moved to our country last year. Mary didn't look anything like Karen. Mary is a black child, but that isn't a problem to us since everyone's families come in different sizes and shapes. But I had to point this out since it'll become important later. The nursery closes around 6 p.m. since we are a private nursery. But Karen always comes late by an hour to pick up Mary. Now usually we would give the parents an hour time limit to pick up the children before we hand out warnings, and if a third warning is invoked, well, I think the manager said she'll call Child Protection Services. Now Karen always takes the piss and ensures she picks up Mary barely before the hour. She would show up with a flush red face, a tight slim skinny dress, and caked in excessive amounts of makeup. Now this isn't a big deal until the summer trip starts coming around the corner. It was a trip to a big theme park in my country. Everyone was buzzed, especially the staff members, since this is basically a free trip for them since the nursery is paying for it. The children will be with their parents or guardians, so we don't have to take care of them, and we can just go wild with the rides. On the day of the trip, Karen came along as usual in a tight dress, high heels, pungent perfume, and excessive amount of makeup. She looks like she's dressed for some sort of formal party, whilst the other parents are dressed in casual clothing, preparing themselves for war. Remember, us staff members don't have to look after the kids on this trip, and it's the parents' guardians' responsibility to do so. Before we left for our trip, Karen noticed one of the children, a beautiful toddler whom I'll name Anna, with blonde pigtails and bright blue eyes. Karen walked up to her mother, whom she held hands with, and said something quite disturbing, to the point Anna's mother requested us staff to help keep a distance from her. The exchange went as followed. "That's a cute girl," Karen said. "Aw, thank you. She's our pride and joy," Anna's mom replied back. "She has such beautiful crystal blue eyes and blonde hair. Her skin is so fair and pale." Yeah, she is beautiful." Now Anna's mom was a bit creeped out. "I wish Mary looked like her." Anna's mom looks at Mary and says, "Our Mary is also a beautiful girl too." Karen scoffs and says, "Yeah, right. If anything, I want a baby girl like yours." She looks closer at Anna and strokes her blonde hair. Anna's mother was creeped out by that and pulled Anna away from Karen before quickly heading to us for some help. With our help, we assigned Karen and Mary to sit at the very back of the bus, whilst Anna's family sat in the front to keep some distance. Once we got to the theme park, everyone was let loose and the parents' guardians were in for a treat. Whilst us staff and students went nuts on the rides, basically just having a blast. Until it was nearing late afternoon, we were all getting hungry, so we walked over to the food court. There, we saw an unpleasant sight. Karen was drinking some beer at one of the far back tables, talking on her phone, whilst Mary was asleep in her buggy. We looked at this scene with disgust and walked over. The exchange went as follows after Karen noticed us and put down the phone. "Oh, hello there." "Hello, Karen. Enjoying the trip?" I asked. "Oh, I wish. It's been so boring, tiring. My feet ache from walking around, and it's so bloody hot." She was wearing a tight black dress and tall black heels. Of course she's gonna get tired. "I see. Did you two enjoy any of the rides?" "Yes, Mary enjoys the merry-go-ride more than anything." I want to note that there was no merry-go-round in the theme park. I seated myself along with two other staff members with Karen to get to know her and see if she was okay, because I can tell she was kinda tipsy with her skin all flushed. We kept an eye out for her and just kept talking and drinking until finally things took a turn for the worst. She talked about things we couldn't believe. "You know, I never wanted a child, but my husband adopted Mary from one of his African trips because according to him he felt like he had to, and he sees her as his own flesh and blood." She scoffs as she drinks more. "The husband is a journalist who travels a lot." "That's nice of him. I'm sure Mary will grow up to be a healthy, beautiful girl." Karen scoffs again. "Yeah, right, beautiful. Back in America, beautiful white girls are always the most popular ones in high school," and she mumbles quietly. "Pardon, I was shocked. Her skin is so black. I wonder, if there was a bruise, would anyone be able to see it?" Ooh, I looked at the other two staff members with worry, but they nodded as they quickly rushed over to Mary to check if she was okay and see if there were any signs of abuse, whilst I kept Karen occupied with idle talk. Luckily, Mary didn't have any signs of abuse, but since Karen was a bit tipsy and tired, one of the staff members took Karen back to the bus to rest, whilst the bus driver kept a close eye on her. We took Mary after getting a drunk consent from Karen and took her on children rides that she'll enjoy, like the elephant ride, the airplane, the baby roller coaster, and more. We still had our fun until it was time to gather back at the meeting point around the evening. We quickly informed the manager what we had heard and expressed our concern, and the manager took it into consideration. Once we got back, apparently the manager contacted Karen's husband and informed him of what had been said and how she's been treating Mary, and also to pick up Karen since she was tipsy. Not sure what the husband did after learning all of that. The very next week, Karen came into the nursery quite early, which was unusual, to pick up Mary. Anna and her mother was passing by her in the hallway to go home when suddenly Karen grabbed Anna by the arm and screamed, "I want this child. Give her to me." "What is wrong with you? Let go," Anna's mother yelled back. All the staff members quickly rushed over to the scene to pull Karen away. Anna was crying in pain and fear, with her mother grabbing her away from Karen and hugging her protectively. "I deserve a beautiful white child. Give her to me. She's mine. I want a beautiful baby girl." We restrained her with 3 men holding her down. We quickly contacted the police and her husband. Everyone was informed to leave early that day, including the cleaners, especially since I was a student. I left early because of the ruckus, but some stayed back to give a witness statement. Afterwards, according to one of the staff members, Karen's husband argued hard with Karen in the nursery's office and basically threatened to divorce her, which got Karen crying. Karen's husband took Mary, with Karen basically hugging him by the leg, begging him not to leave her and that she was sorry. For a month, instead of Karen picking up Mary, it was either Mary's nanny or the husband. According to one of the nosy staff members, the husband had divorced Karen and got a restraining order against her because apparently when the husband went to visit Karen in jail, she tried to attack him for prioritizing Mary over her, and Anna's mom also sued her and got a restraining order. I'm not sure what happened to Karen afterwards, but we at last know Mary is being well taken care of by her loving father, who treats her like a treasure regardless of skin color and thinks she's a beautiful baby girl. A lot of the staff members had a crush on him after this incident. Story 5. I work in a law firm, and my job is to prepare legal documents for our clients. We have one client who recently hired an expat to work as its new general manager, whom we shall call Mr. Know-It-All. We never had problems with the logistics with this client before he came along. His first order of business was to email us the following: "Dear law firm, as the new general manager of client, I want all the legal documents being requested by our employees go through me first. I know it is not the standard procedure in our company to copy and furnish me when they email you, but do BCC me for every request they send you. All legal documents will now only be made or reviewed upon my approval." We initially complied with his instructions, but it took days before he gave his approval. Now, I have been working with this client for over 5 years, and I know what documents are time-sensitive. So, I drafted the urgent documents and BCC'd him with a note that states, "Kindly secure Mr. Know-It-All's approval prior to the execution of this document." After doing this with some of the request, I received an email from Mr. Know-It-All which states, "Hey, didn't I tell you that all requests should go through me? No matter how small or urgent it is, I want you to ask for my approval. No exceptions. Please do use the final document I sent you. I don't care about the legal parlance of your country, I want it worded my way. Also, I want all the emails sent by our employees to you printed and handed to me, including those made prior to my employment in the company." Now on to the malicious compliance. What Mr. Know-It-All doesn't know is that contracts must be worded in conjunction with our laws. Authorization must contain words that use specific words required by the government agency you are dealing with, and so on. We also bill our clients per page regardless of what it is. We consider it billable. I followed his instructions to the letter. You want every request, even if it's urgent, to go through you? Sure. You want contracts worded your way? Sure. You want authorization worded your way also? Sure. You want all the emails printed? Sure. The results? Contracts that are up for renegotiation and renewal were late or got rejected by the other party due to Mr. Know-It-All's wording, and it cost the client some money. Some government agencies didn't honor some of the letters of authorization, which also cost the client some money. Printed emails also cost the client money. But one particular email I received a few minutes before I go home was worth the malicious compliance. Hey, we would like to request for the attached documents to be made. This will be used for Mr. Know-it-all's working visa. We weren't able to apply for his visa due to the lockdown. We only have until tomorrow to submit the documents. Knowing Mr. Know-it-all wouldn't reply to emails, I sent him at least a day after. I requested his approval the next day. They ended up submitting the documents late, and Mr. Know-it-all got fined for it, but not enough for deportation. The client racked up a hefty bill for 1 month, but Mr. Know-it-all toned down after that. Story 6. This happened today. I work in a quaint wee pub/restaurant in Scotland. A very family-oriented kind of place, so we make most of our cash money on food, although we do have a wide variety of drinks as well. Here's the cast: me, waitstaff, and the waste of oxygen. The back shift started off pretty well. I work the bars so drink checks are put through by the waitstaff for table service, usually before meals are ordered. Pretty standard for most restaurants, I'd imagine. Now this table had been seated about 10 minutes before I started my shift and had ordered 1 round of drinks for 3 wastes of oxygen, a bottle of Sauv Blanc and a glass each. Keep in mind that Sauv is our house white wine and is by far the cheapest at £10.95, and every bottle of Sauv is the same. I'm almost a half hour into my shift and a check comes through for another bottle for their table. They ordered another bottle and 3 meals about 25 minutes later. By this point, each waste of oxygen has had about a bottle of wine in about an hour. Still no issues until they order another bottle for the table just as their food arrives. Waitstaff 1 takes it over. Waste of oxygen. That's not the wine we've been drinking. The wine we had looked much paler. Waitstaff: I'm really sorry about that. I'll ask the bar to change it for you. Bear with me. So the staff bounces back with the bottle and asks for a change. Me: all right? Waiter: no. The lady said the wine they've been drinking all night didn't look like this, said it was paler. I'll have a look at their bill, but it's been the same bottle going out to their table since they came in. Sure enough, it was the same bottle. Also, they had the same bottle still sitting in a cooler at their table. Karen's mind. So the staff takes a copy of their bill over and breaks it down. Are they happy? Do they understand? They do not. They've been drinking the paler wine the whole night. Or so they screech. The paler wine is our Pinot Grigio, which is about £17.95 a bottle. This isn't uncommon for folks to try and get away with a pricier drink for free and cheaper, by claiming that's what they've been drinking the whole time, especially after a few scoops. What they seem to forget is they're drunk. I'm sober. The staff attempts to explain that the Sauv is absolutely what they've been drinking the whole time they've been there. Waste of oxygen. Excuse me, hen, but you're embarrassing me and not letting me eat my food, so just get the wine. Thank you. And throws her hand in the waiter's face. The poor lassie came over to me at the bar, tears welling up in her eyes, almost completely defeated after I've just watched all this. Never heard what was said until after, but had a fair idea. Me: no problem, pass that check. I went back onto the till, changed every bottle of wine they'd ordered to the more expensive one since they were certain that that's what they'd been drinking, and ramped their bill up by, what we call in Scotland, a metric ton. They ordered an extra bottle after their meal and asked for the bill at the table. I told the waiter if there were any issues concerning the price to come and speak to me. All 3 wastes of oxygen were boiling mad and came screeching over like their feet were made of polystyrene, but were made to pay since that's what they'd been drinking the whole time they'd been here. And even took the courtesy of showing them their previous bill again, reminding them of the money they'd have saved if they'd just remained civil and not berated my staff. It's the little things.